12-year-old Lori Page was a seventh grader living in Tallahassee, Florida, and attending Griffin Middle School. She was described as being extremely kind, smart, focused, and studious to the point that her teacher said she would run between classes to make sure she wasn't late. She also was said not to socialize often with the kids there. She was always very nice to them, but she was always more focused on school. Of course, kids aren't perfect. No one is. And she did get into a little bit of trouble at school, it seemed. But it more so seemed to be because of the friends she was associating herself with when she was hanging out with the other kids at school. And she was described as a follower when it came to things like that. Her father would end up telling a story where the bus driver had actually caught one of her friends setting the grass on fire, and Lori was there when that happened. So they both got in trouble for it. Her father had to go into school and, talk about the situation. So to me, it truly feels like, from everything that we do know about Lori, she seems like a people pleaser, which can be a bad thing when it comes to kids missing. This is Lori's mother, Miranda. From what I learned, she had Lori when she was around 18 years old, and she's now around 30 years old. And according to her, Lori wanted to move in with her father, so they made a trip to move her all the way to Tallahassee, Florida, and her mother, Miranda, went back to Nashville, where she was going to medical school.
I had Lori very, very early, and I've been in school Lori's entire life, so that is what she sees.
His mother, Miranda Page, gave up custody to her father, Andrew Wiley, who worked as a correctional officer in the area. So Lori had ended up moving to Tallahassee, Florida to live with her father, and she was there for roughly 10 months before her disappearance. The two lived on the 1200 block of Continental Court in a middle-class neighborhood near Mission San Luis in a quadruplex apartment, and even though her relationship with her father was quite a new one, it seemed to be going well. From all accounts, he seemed to be newer to being a father. I don't know how much he was in her life before her moving in with him, but despite Andrew being a new father, he seemed to be navigating it quite well. Lori always seemed to be clean, she always seemed to be fed, she was always at school every day. And at home, her father described her as a quiet kid who would often just watch TV or YouTube. Andrew did mention, though, that there did seem to be some issues, especially from Lori's past. Sometimes Andrew said that Lori would cry and ask him why her mother didn't love her. And as Andrew worked night shift, Lori would be left home alone all night by herself. However, she knew if she needed anything, there was a neighbor she could go to and ask for anything she needed. Now, I couldn't figure out if this incident happened on the day that Lori went missing or if it happened the day before Lori went missing. Her mother, Miranda, would unexpectedly show up at their door, and an altercation would actually take place, which led Andrew to call the police and having Miranda removed from the property. After around midnight that night, that's the last time he seen Lori, and she was asleep in bed. However, when he returned from work in the morning, Lori was nowhere to be found. At first, it seemed like it was kind of assumed she might have went to a friend's house without telling anyone, but from what it seemed like, Andrew didn't really know any of Lori's friends. She didn't have a ton of friends, and it seemed like the friends she did have weren't the greatest influences at school. From what Andrew has also said, when he ended up calling the police, reporting his daughter missing, they ended up interrogating him. A forensics team went through his home, and they also went around trying to find any cameras that they could get a hold of. But if police ended up finding any evidence from any of that, they haven't said. And especially in this day and age, you'd think that there would have been one camera capturing this little girl leaving or being taken somewhere. In February of 2024, a grid search was conducted in San Luis Mission Park, and a week later, a dive search team came and went through Lake Esther. The search included 90 first responders who surveyed 64 acres of the area inch by inch, yet nothing was found. But at first, it truly did seem like they were thinking she may have ran away or wandered off somewhere, even though it was in the middle of the night. But Lori's mother, along with other teachers, have put their foot down and said that Lori would not have ran away. Her mother even said she was scared of the dark. I said everything seemed great between Lori and her father. However, we do know Lori seemed to have went off on one occasion and was found again, and then we also have this story.
He sent me a picture of her. This is on a different occasion, and her face is just swole. Now, nothing has happened to her that I've ever seen that her face does this.
Saying what Lori's disappearance is, it would have been so easy for a predator to notice that this little girl was being left home alone overnight. Just look at how many predators are in the area of where Lori lived. Just within the immediate little tiny neighborhood where Lori lived there were 3 PDF files. You heard me right, 3. One which has a previous charge of possessing CP, a second who used their computer to lure a child so that they could essay them, and then we have a third who has multiple different charges of essaying children. Lori deserves for her case to be out there, and she deserves for more people to be talking about this and spreading the word on this. So if you're able to share this video, if you're able to share her missing persons flyer, please do so. Billboards have been put up around the city, and a pastor has also been dedicated to putting signs around the city, hoping to spread the word on Lori's disappearance, but still, Lori is missing. Please take one more good look at Lori. She is 12 years old. She's described as a black female, standing 5 feet tall, around 120 pounds, with black dreadlocks and brown eyes.